Coming up on this episode of Celtics Weekly, Kristaps Porzingis hits his stride, Jayson Tatum celebrates his home crowd, and we cast predictions for a big rematch on Friday. All that and more now.
Welcome into Celtics Weekly, the show every Wednesday where we catch you up with the world champ Boston Celtics. Meghan Ottolini here with Chris Forsberg of NBC Sports Boston riding shotgun. We've got a huge show for you ahead. We're going to check in with Taylor Snow of Celtics.com, get some stats from him because he's a lot smarter than the two of us. We're going to get into a jam-packed week ahead since last Wednesday's show, but we can't go any further in the show without acknowledging the shirt. The sweatshirt, the gear cannot be ignored. Explain what's going on here.
All right, so first off, the hottest seller outside of TD Garden is Payton Pritchard. He's a little darker than, it might need to be, but otherwise we know how Payton is hooping this year. Love to see him. Got the boots going.
Yeah, what's going on with the boots?
Well, you know how it is. Like, no matter the situation, Payton is always ready to hoop, whether it's a public park, whether it's a pro-am, whatever it is, he's always ready to go. So boots, whatever he needs, he's good.
Hopefully he's ready to hoop because there's a big week, as I said, coming up. A little Golden State tease I want to give you because we're going to compare him to another great three-point shooter. But first, let's get to the week that was. Weekly Rewind is where we check in since last Wednesday, and the Celtics split a homestand Friday night, hosting Sacramento, one of the red-hot teams from the Western Conference. We'll start with the good side of this. Kristaps Porzingis with a double-double, 22 points, 10 rebounds, but the fourth quarter Kings were just too much, Chris.
It's incredible how much of an energy they have since making the head coaching change. Celtics couldn't quite match it, didn't love their effort at times in this game, but they acknowledge that they got to be sharper, especially against a team that is riding that high. They got to find a way to crank it up, and they did a couple days later.
Luckily, they rebounded quite literally against the New Orleans Pelicans because they beat them on the boards 55-42. This was a tight win, but a worthy victory against the, at the time, 8-win Pelicans.
And right there is the hustle that we were looking for on Friday night. Jayson Tatum cleaning up the miss. He was spectacular through the fourth quarter and getting the team to the finish line. And JB was great throughout the game, setting a tone, especially early. Nice to see the Celtics, as always, finding a way to shrug off a loss and come back with a more disciplined, focused effort.
Absolutely. And I think with Jayson Tatum here, 38 points, it's just, you can't say enough about the steady presence that he's had for this team throughout. It's almost flying a little under the radar because some of the other individual performances around the league.
And that's the thing, right? With the Celtics, they're so talented overall that Tatum's spectacularness gets overshadowed, especially in the MVP conversation. But this year especially, it feels like every facet of his game, the rebounding has been so much better, the playmaking has been exquisite, and in fact, they just haven't knocked down a lot of those shots. So I think if the Celtics catch a little bit of a run here in the second half of the season, I think we'll see Tatum injected into that MVP conversation a little bit more, but he has been fantastic this year.
Well, don't worry, because Tatum's going to be the star of this next segment. It's Small Bites. Small Bites is the snack-sized segment that punches like a main course. And we're going to talk about Jayson Tatum because he opened up the curtain a little bit from the game that was against the Pelicans. CJ McCollum had a little question for him in the middle of the game, and well, let's just roll the tape here.
I was at the free throw line today, and CJ McCollum asked me, he was like, yo, is it always this turned up in here? I was like, yeah. So I think that's the luxury that we have of playing in front of, the best friends in the arena, regardless of if we playing in TNT or we playing a team that's 8-30. They bring the passion, they bring the energy. So, we always can feed off the crowd and feed off the fans, from finals game to a preseason game. So that's never in question, the energy that we can get from the crowd.
So I love that bite there because I think it should make Celtics fans proud on two counts. The first count being that Jayson Tatum is the kind of star that thrives off of the energy in the Garden. You don't get that from every star, not just in basketball, but in sports across. Everybody knows that Boston is an extremely tough market, not just to play in, but to be a superstar in, and it feels that Jayson Tatum thrives off of that. Also, Celtics fans, just be proud. that McCollum is in the middle of a game and kind of throwing an elbow like, dude, is it always like this? That is special.
You might have heard the story. So Al Horford, when the Celtics were playing in the playoffs, I think this was like back in the Isaiah Thomas era, they came to Boston, they dominated that playoff series. But Al kept saying like, wow, is the Garden always this loud? And it was part of the reason he wanted to come here. And you're absolutely right. You go around the league, it is not like this anywhere else in terms of like the fans and bringing the passion, even on nights the Celtics don't have it. And sometimes they have to be a little realistic and let them know when they're not being held up to that standard. But I love, even going on the road, no offense to your DC roots, but you go down inside that, whatever that's called now, and like you have Celtics fans flocking to this and the transplants, and they all want to cheer, and it feels like a little bit of TD Garden on the road, which, you know, again, that's what we do.
A little bit of props to you guys, the fans. Well, we got to check in because analytics run the league.
Ooh.
Sorry to say, it's time now for tailor-made stats.
Thanks, Meghan. All right, let's dive into some stats from the past week, starting with a couple of big milestones that Jayson Tatum hit over the weekend. Friday, he dished out his 2,000th career assist, and then on Sunday, he grabbed his 4,000th career rebound. In doing so, he joined a couple of impressive lists. He became just the 6th Celtic to accumulate at least 12,000 points, 2,000 assists, 4,000 rebounds. As you can see, the other 5, all Celtics legends, Hall of Famers. And Jayson did this all before turning 27. He's the 3rd youngest player in NBA history to accumulate all those stats before turning 27. The only others are LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Love this stat. All right, I got to pull up something here because we've got Jayson Tatum up there with Larry Bird. He's the 6th Celtic. I need to order a cannon for the studio so that every time he achieves a Larry Bird stat, we shoot off feathers. So you go on. I'm going to work on ordering this.
All right. What I was going to say is I'm going to order Mount Rushmore because that's the list of Celtics greats that deserve to be up there if you just add Bob Cousy to it. And this is what Tatum is doing. Every game, it feels like he hits another benchmark. I don't know how he hits all these 1,000 and 2,000 and 4,000 in the same week, let alone. But every time I look up, he's got a new stat that he's muscled himself into. And as you guys have said, the age, everything that he's doing it at, it's so incredible when you just put yourself in the company of the legends on this Celtics franchise.
Okay, $2,500 for a confetti cannon feels a little high. We're going to see if we can expense
order,
that.
Slam that order button.
And apparently you're not supposed to put bird feathers in it. Do you have another stat for us, Taylor?
Yes, Jaylen Brown, he's also been racking up assists lately. He handed out 7 Sunday night, and that is the 6th time this season he's had at least 7 assists in a game, which is a career high for a single season for him. And he's only played 32 games, so we're less than halfway through, already has a career high. And also 24 straight games for him with at least 3 assists, which is by far the best streak of his career, which I know 3 assists, that's not a ton of assists, but for a guy who's not a point guard to be doing that 24 straight games, that's pretty impressive.
I think it's a really notable development point because we've spent a lot of time in the media looking at Jaylen's handle and how much that's improved. The offense is really comfortable running through him, and seeing him become this creator on top of somebody who can handle and drive in the paint when you need it, it's a great stat.
It's not only the assist to me, it's the way he's doing it. There's been a couple of, even in recent games, where he's throwing no-look passes to Luke Cornett in the dunker spot, goes back and does the same thing. His vision has improved so much. And when you think about the strides that Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown has made as playmakers, their ability to get everybody else on the court involved, it's such a luxury for this team. It's part of the reason that they got that championship trophy that it got taken off this display, and why this team is so good. And it's still, I'm telling you, it's only scratched the surface of how good they can be as playmakers.
We're used to the Jays stats. Taylor, do you have any big man stats for us, perhaps?
Yes. Lastly, I want to show some love for Neemias Queta, who's been carving out more of a role with the team this season. One of the areas where he's excelled in is screen assists. He leads the team in screen assists, despite averaging the 10th most minutes on the team. Now, if you look at his screen assist rate, it's actually the 3rd best in the league. Only other guys above him are Kayvon Looney, Domantas Sabonis. So it's great to see Neemias contributing with the hustle plays.
It's so cool because Nimi is a guy who was literally on a 2-way contract last year, and to see him find these different ways to support teammates, and as you said, Taylor, carve out a role on a championship defending squad, I mean, that is a true pro.
You think about all the talent they have, and how do you differentiate yourself? How do you carve out a role on this group? And sometimes it comes down to he's just a pure bundle of energy when he's out there, can affect the game that way. But doing the dirty work, rolling up those sleeves, setting screens so that Jayson Tatum can get to the basket easier, so that someone can get freed up for a 3-point look. Credit to Nimi for finding his role on this team and embracing it.
All right. Well, if you have any stats that you'd like to contribute to our show, comments are a great place to do so. You can also throw us some social media stuff that you see for some of our other segments. We love interacting with you guys, our audience, and we would love for you to stick around because we have more Celtics Weekly on the other side. Welcome back. Time now for Player Spotlight, and we're throwing the spotlight on one guy who loves it, Kristaps Porzingis. All right, the big guy is back in action for a couple weeks now, and he is on a roll. 3 straight double-doubles, Forsberg, and we talk a lot about this guy as a rim protector, what he can do stretching the floor, but he's also a fantastic distributor, especially in the pick-and-roll game with one Jaylen Brown.
Oh, cookies and cream everywhere. So, look, you could tell coming off of the surgery this offseason, then a couple start and stops, tweaking an ankle, kind of bruising the foot. He just didn't have his normal pep, his normal sort of energy on the court, and he was frustrated by it. But the last few games, I feel like he's just taken it up to another level in terms of his comfortability on the court. I love his aggressiveness around the basket. The double-doubles are flowing. 6 blocks in the last 3 games. You see the three-point stroke picking up against Sacramento with a season-high 4 threes in that game. And it just comes down to the chemistry, right? Finding all that made that unit thrive last season.
Joe Mazzulla talked a little bit last week about seeing Kristaps get back into rhythm. I'm wondering, from your perspective, how much higher is the ceiling for this team, for this starting 5, when they get back into that rhythm, the chemistry's right, and Kristaps is healthy?
Yeah, let's face it, that unit has been a little bit up and down. It was so good last season. I just think they need more time, and a more comfortable Kristaps is going to just unlock the potential of that group. We saw it last season. A big reason why they were able to get that world championship was the play of Kristaps Porzingis and what he brought to that group. The ability to space the floor, the ability to be the backline rim protector that gives Drew Holiday and Derek White the ability to be more aggressive. There's so much he can unlock for this team, and it just comes down to him feeling comfortable out there.
Chris, when you talk about last season, I gotta say, sometimes my ears perk up. I'm like, okay, all right, I can't get over last season, can't get over last year. And I think that's perfect because our new episode of Beneath the Banners, which takes you through 2024, wraps up everything from right after the championship, going to the White House. And well, for inside access this week, let's just give you an exclusive look at that.
And now, that 18th championship banner hangs in the rafters.
Tatum goes to work on Neal, discards the minivan, drains the three.
Ready? Fight! Find it! Come on! Yeah, straight!
This is it.
Wow. Congratulations. 72, thank you, sir. I'm the luckiest SLB on the planet.
So you can find Beneath the Banners on YouTube, but everything that's in there, I love seeing Bob Cousy get his ring. How special is that to just still have these legends with us and able to participate in this modern era of champion basketball?
So as a Worcester kid, I used to go up on the Salisbury Street, and I would climb up on the brick wall as a child and peer over into Bob Cousy's yard because he was that much of a legend.
Kind of creepy.
A little bit. No restraining order.
Breaking some laws.
He allowed me into his house. He says, "You're lucky my wife didn't, call the cops on you." Thankful for the Cousy family. But it was because what he meant and all that the legends have done here. And he tells a funny story where Amazon he thought it was an Amazon delivery showing up at his house one day, and it was the actual Bob Cousy trophy that they named after him got sent to the house and just left on his doorstep. Anyone could have swiped it. I love that he also gets a championship ring this season, gets to be part of this. Him being there on opening night was such a special moment for him to make that trek into Boston. You could tell it resonated with even the younger players like Jaylen and Jayson. They understand the history and the specialness that exists with this group. I love Kuzi getting that ring.
Only other question here from beneath the banners in that little clip we showed you. Pickleball at practice. Are you a pickleball guy? Are you a pickleball guy? I have not been converted personally,
Not yet.
but I'm open to sponsorships.
I played a little pickleball when the team was over in Abu Dhabi, and let me tell you, I'd like to do it at a cooler temperature.
I was going to say, was that an indoor facility?
No, it was outdoors, and it was a little hot. But I'm all in. Like I feel like, you know, my mom has like rackets now and is doing her thing. I'm all for it.
All right. Well, nothing wrong with a little bit of cross training, especially when you're hitting your mid-season stride, and the Celtics are there because they've got a very busy week coming up, a slate of 4 games. Let's get right into weekly predictions. This is where we try to toss out what we think is going to happen. And as I said, it's a busy week. The Celtics have 4 games coming up against the Raptors, Magic, Hawks, and Warriors. I'm really looking forward to the rematch between the Celtics and Magic myself. You get Paolo Banchero back, so I ask you, who do you think is more likely to double-double in this, JT or Paolo now that he's returned?
Yeah, look, Paolo's still working his way back, and as good as he's been, and the little, you know, rivalry that those two have brewing, I like JT in this matchup because he has been bringing it on the defensive glass throughout this season. It feels like he's made that an emphasis this year, trying to take up the other parts of his game. We all know he's a great scorer, but when he's active on the glass, this team just goes up to another level. I look for him to have the double-double in that game.
I agree. Look, we hear so much about triple-doubles, and we know that that is the exquisite stat for everybody in the league right now, but Jayson Tatum, kind of the king of the double-doubles. Paolo's still getting back into form, coming back from that, so I'm all about that. But another big game that we have coming up Monday night is the Golden State game. And this is a fun one because we're going to have 2 elite three-point shooters out there in both Steph Curry, of course, the king of the three-point line, and little Payton Pritchard right there on your sweatshirt. So I ask you, who's going to have more threes in this game?
Oh, I mean,
Steph or Payton?
Is this even a doubt with the hoodie that I am sporting today? So for me, it comes down to one of my favorite stats of this season is how close Steph and Payton Pritchard are in three-point makes. And look, you got Payton coming off the bench. We know how much Steph plays. He did miss some time with injury, but it's still telling that someone of Payton Pritchard's stature has been able to hang with what you called him, the three-point king. Well, the only way you can go get that crown is to do it against him on the court, and it's time for Payton to go out there and show that, at least on of the bench guys in the NBA and 6 men in the league, he's the king of the three.
Steph Curry, he might be the reigning king right now, but I will say that Payton Pritchard is at least the prince, because if you look at their percentages, Prince P, if you look at their percentages, I think it's about 41 to 41.3% in three-point shooting as we sit here today on Wednesday. So there's a real chance that you could have a little competition there.
I'm all for it. Like, again, when we think about how far Payton has come and what a great season he's having, and putting himself in that 6 Man of the Year race, it is crazy to me that when you start putting it up head-to-head with guys like Steph, some of the elite three-point shooters in the NBA, just how close and just how good his percentage has been. It's a credit to his ability to fight through when he wasn't playing and how good he's been this year.
We got double-doubles, we got three-point shooting. If you want to weigh in on any of that, you are always welcome in the comments section. Thank you so much for joining us on Celtics Weekly. We will be with you next Wednesday.